Welcome to the FNO Intertek podcast, a place where movers and shakers from all points within the insurance ecosystem gather and discuss all things InsurTech. We talk about how technology and innovation are affecting and driving change in the industry. Here are your hosts, Matt D. Fothery, Lee Boyd, and Rob Beller.
Hey, podcast world, welcome to another edition of FNO InsurTech with your host, Lee Boyd, and me, his sidekick, Rob Beller. And today we do a media episode. What do you think about that?
Yeah.
We have a media guy on. We have Mathew Allen from AdjusterTV, and that's kind of cool to have a media type on. Tell us about Matt Allen.
I think it's great. Matt Allen, I've known about him for a long time. He has a website called AdjusterTV and a great YouTube channel, and he really focuses on the independent adjuster space, about educating them, about bringing them the newest information out there, and even about Intertek. And he's a really nice guy, and he has a mission to make sure that independent adjusters have the tools and the capabilities to do the best that they can. And so I'm excited. I'm excited to talk to him about how the independent adjusters are using InsurTech and how InsurTech is affecting their work processes.
Cool. Well, we work with adjusters a lot. They're kind of the lifeblood of our business. And
yes, that is true.
And we're very active in InsurTech and using InsurTech tools and marrying up those two communities. So it'll be interesting to hear from the other side.
I agree. I'm very excited about it.
So without further ado, let's go to our interview with Matt Allen, CEO and founder of AdjusterTV. Hey, everybody. We're here with our guest today, another media titan like ourselves. Like how I called us a media titan there.
Yeah.
This is somebody that's actually way more serious about media than we are. We have Mathew Allen, CEO and founder of AdjusterTV. Welcome to our podcast, Matt.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, you guys. This is really cool. I'm very excited to be here.
Where do we find you today?
So my wife and I live in Whitefish, Montana, up in the northwest corner. It's beautiful Flathead Valley up here. Flathead Lake is up here, and we've got a couple of ski hills within about 25 minutes away from the house. So it's a beautiful spot up here. We'd been full-time in an RV for several years and decided that we kind of wanted to settle down in this area. So here we are.
Cool. It's beautiful up there. It's God's country.
It really is.
No question. Are you a fisherman?
Yeah. I fish, but I've got plans to go into one of these shops and grab a guy and say, hey, listen, take me out. Because I've never fly fished before, so I haven't really fished for any kind of fish up here. It's usually catfish and crappie and stuff like that down in the Midwest.
Well, we're thrilled to have you with us today. And why don't you tell our audience, what is AdjusterTV and what do you do and what's your purpose and who's your audience and so on and so forth? Give us a couple minutes on AdjusterTV.
Sure, yeah. So a couple of years ago, I started AdjusterTV as kind of a way. I've been let's start from the beginning. I've been a property adjuster since 1999, and I've done almost nothing except for cat property in the field for all those years. And I know you guys are adjusters and you've been on hurricanes, and when you walk into an orientation and you see brand new people in there who are looking like they're completely lost, and then you don't see them again. They might get, 70 claims dropped in their lap or whatever, especially on those big hurricane events, and they can't handle it. And they either get kicked off the storm or they wash out. And I don't personally feel that that's something that should happen as much as it does. And at least back then was my feeling on it. And so I had written a book about 10 years ago covering all the bases that I thought a new person would need to know, who is, maybe doesn't have all the time in the world to go get trained up and to go to, an in-person adjuster school or do any of that stuff. They just get the call. It's warm bodies. I want that person to be successful or have a better chance at being successful. So I put together kind of a little short ebook, sort of outlining the steps of what they need to do to get ready and what they can expect when they get on a storm, and kind of put that on the shelf for a while. And And I love working cat. So I was always working cat. So I would work on this kind of in the off season. And like, then when the storm season would hit, then it would get on the back burner or get forgotten about until the next, holiday season or whatever. And so one year I was just like, you know what? I've really liked doing video. I have a background in video production before I was an adjuster. And I think I can put these two things together. I think it might be the best way. I mean, video is a really, really engaging medium that I think is, podcasting and audio is wonderful, but I think, people will reach for videos for like how-to stuff and gear reviews and things like that.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to start a YouTube channel. I'll put up a website and see what happens. I just try to like knock out some content every single week. And I've done it every single week since it was 2 years ago in February. And it's kind of grown and morphed a little bit. And I feel like at this point where AdjusterTV really is heading is to be kind of the premier resource for video content for our industry, right? So it's not like a web page where you just go and check out some news headlines, and it's not, a social media thing. It's every week we're going to try to get out some relevant stuff that insurance adjusters, field adjusters, need to know, want to know, stuff to inspire them, stuff to educate them, stuff to, inform them. And I'm very excited about it. And I've gotten a lot of really good feedback. Like the community has grown pretty quickly and fairly significantly. I think considering the size of the niche that we're in,
Right.
it's doing pretty well. And I've been getting a lot of really positive response from IA firms and gear makers and other companies and software companies that service our industry. They like what we're doing. I'm trying to keep things. I naturally, as a customer service person, I think there's a place for like brutal honesty, but it's not really. That place isn't really in like a customer service scenario, and so I kind of like to carry that over into AdjusterTV. Everybody's got opinions about stuff, but we're not going to talk about politics. We're not going to talk about what's going on in like the real news. We're going to talk about what's going on in claims world and see how we can, especially with news items and the way technology is moving so quickly these days, how can we benefit from that? How can we use that to better service our customers, which are the insureds, which is our IA firms that we work for as field adjusters, and probably most importantly, the carrier. Are we able to get out there and be a resource that they can count on to do a great job as much as possible with great customer service and a great file quickly? And that's kind of everything all kind of ties together into that's sort of like the vision behind AdjusterTV is to try to increase that level of quality that the carriers and their customers are getting from independent adjusters. And that's what I'm pushing hard for.
That's great.
Yeah.
I have a couple of questions about that. Number one is you talked about the number of independent adjusters. It's always something that we are curious about. We wonder about. Do you have any kind of census on how many independent adjusters are there out there? Do you guys have any kind of sense of that?
Well, I mean, I don't know if I can base it off of my audience necessarily, because my audience there are some experienced adjusters or veteran adjusters who might poke in there and watch a couple of funny videos or a gear video or something like that. The vast majority of the people that watch my YouTube videos are either exploratory, kind of tire kicking they heard about it from somebody, or it kind of popped up in their search when they were looking for like how can I make more money from work from home or whatever kind of a thing. So it's a little bit varied in that way. But every month the videos on AdjusterTV get about 18,000 views, which is clearly, obviously, it's going to be one person watching more than one video. But it's not 18,000 people.
However, it's thousands and thousands.
Well, yeah. You have almost 6,000 subscribers.
I do, yeah. So we're probably about, right as we record this, about 50 subscribers away from the 6,000 subscriber mark. And subscribers are about 35% of the people who've watched the videos. The other 65% are not unsubscribed. They don't subscribe, or they don't know how to, or they don't want to, or whatever. So that's only, about a third of the people that actually, are in there. So.
Well, I think it's a question that comes up that we frequently talk about with carriers because they're curious, how big is the pool? We talk about the pool. And of course, as we know, there's many factors that determine how big the pool is at any one time.
Sure, for sure.
Not the least of which is more work equals bigger pool. But we're often curious about that. And my other question to you real quickly is, as an independent adjuster, who do you view as your customer? Is it the carrier, the insured, the IA company? What's the viewpoint from an IA?
I'll put it this way. I won't try to speak for other people because I know, like in my career, that's evolved certainly from the very beginning. The customer is the insured, and everybody else is somebody I have to deal with, right? As a brand spanking new person with no customer service skills, it didn't take too many years for me to figure out that if I started to treat everybody as my customer, like treat them like they're literally my actual, everybody's the insured, that my interactions went a lot better. Negotiations with contractors went a lot better. The relationships that I developed with my IA firms and their carrier partners definitely improved when I started to kind of cultivate everybody is my customer. Customer service is the number one thing. Everything that we do is supportive of customer service. Faster cycle time supports customer service. A more accurate file supports customer service. So all that stuff goes together. And so I view my job, ultimately as a customer service person, as kind of supporting the relationship between the carrier and their customer, no matter if I'm having to, if there's damage that's excluded that we can't take care of or not. I want to handle claims as though, I'm there to make sure that relationship stays intact and that it is, if we can't pay for something, that there's a reason for it and here are some options and et cetera. So as far as customer service goes, I always say, and whenever I speak or, I've got a bunch of videos on this, everybody's my customer. Even roofing contractors are my customer.
Yeah, I would imagine roofing contractors watch your stuff all the time.
Yeah, but I treat them like a customer.
Well, that's true. As an IA, I mean, anybody you deal with, right?
Yeah.
Anybody you come in contact with has the potential to help or hinder the process. And so why not treat them all right?
Exactly.
So I'm looking through the website on YouTube. First off, your website is great. You have all sorts of things on there. You have adjuster resources, you have licensing links, you have news, and then you have Xactimate. And I'm looking on AdjusterTV on YouTube, and I see training, and I see lots of really good training. In fact, I see the subtitle of "The One Piece of Software to Rule Them All: Speed and Efficiency in Xactimate is Crucial to Your Success as a CAT Adjuster." Yeah. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Where's Symbility in all of this? What is your thought on educating on Xactimate, but not on Symbility?
Well, I will say it's not a matter of me like choosing one over the other. I have talked to folks at those other companies, Simsol and Symbility. I think was it CoreLogic or something? That's
yeah, CoreLogic bottom. Mm-hmm.
At this moment, it's been really more a matter of like scheduling and trying to get the right person on the phone at the right time and to figure out something that we can do to kind of get the word out about those other pieces of software, which are definitely, I mean, they've been around for a long time just as well. And they're definitely used. I mean, there's some carriers, as far as I know, what I've been told is that who don't like to use Xactimate at all, they'll prefer to use one of those other guys. So it's not a matter of like picking and choosing necessarily. It's just a matter of like having an opportunity to put something together for those other guys. Because again, I mean, those they are important. And adjusters really need to have a diverse skill set and have the ability to use different tools because that'll improve their abilities to get deployed for sure.
Yeah, and that was the question really is, what do you think about educating yourself as an adjuster? Should they be educated in both major platforms? I would say in the property world, you have Symbility, you have Exact, and then you have some others. But those are the major platforms that I look at. Do you encourage an adjuster to get educated in both of those platforms?
Well, I will say I haven't like overtly done that. No. However, I think in my experience, and this may be a little piece of it, is that you develop a relationship with an IA firm, and in doing so, generally you'll also develop a relationship with the carrier CAT team. And so you'll find yourself working for the same people all the time. So years can go by where you're working with the same IA field CAT team and the same carrier CAT team, and you're using Xactimate, and I'm not even thinking about using anything else, and those opportunities aren't popping up all the time. So it would be, I guess it's challenging to sort of fit that in, especially if you do get kind of like locked into one carrier and one IA firm where they just keep you so busy. Why bother learning those other pieces of software? And
Right.
to be, not to be like flip about it, but to be honest, I mean, it's like, the end of the season, you go and visit friends and family over the holidays, and then you do some CE in January and February, and then you're back out, doing water losses and wind claims till hail season starts. So,
Well, I just really appreciate the videos on the training. We at F&O InsurTech, we like to talk a lot about InsurTech, surprisingly. And we talk to companies all the time who manufacture different pieces of software. They dream up new ideas, they dream up new processes. We have carriers who implement it. But today we have an opportunity to talk to independent adjusters who actually use a lot of the software that is pushed down to them, right? Many independent adjusters are not bringing new technology to the actual process, but they're actually being told to use types of technology. What is the overall view of InsurTech when it comes to an IA? How does an IA look at this new world of InsurTech?
well, from my standpoint as an independent adjuster, it's always changing. I would say that over my 20 years, it's always changed, but in the past, we'll say 3, 4, 5 years, the rate has certainly increased. I believe that's due to battery technology getting faster, smaller, more powerful. You can power these little smartphones that are like as powerful or more powerful than a desktop computer was 20 years ago for sure. And you stick it in your back pocket and the battery lasts all day. That's, the same thing goes with the drones, the augmented reality stuff, the machine learning stuff. I think the new iPhones are going to have like a LiDAR on them, which will,
Oh, okay, yeah.
I'm sure somebody's going to be taking advantage of that to do interior. Like Matterport would be a company that would take full advantage of that. And I'm sure they're probably working on it now. From my viewpoint, I like to think that as the technology gets better, it will enhance what we can do in the field, and it will help us to do our jobs better. Right.
Okay.
So in other words, we'll be able to accomplish our mission in the field, which is when I first got started, we took pictures with the Polaroid camera, and I hand wrote the activity diary. Had a paper file jacket with everything that had the loss report, all this FNOL on it and everything, and turned that into my manager's office. And I remember, and I was using Xactimate then. I wasn't like a handwritten estimate kind of guy. That was just before my time, I think. But the essence of it is the same, right? Even if you're handwriting an estimate, you have a price list stuck in your back pocket, right? And then you just need to have the quantities of what you want to replace, multiply it by the price, by the unit cost, and there's your number. And you base how you settle a claim on that number. And as we go forward, and as different, in a way, a lot of the different layers of technology that kind of get added, the different, pieces of software, working for certain companies, you may have 4 or 5 pieces of software that you have to get into, or 3 or 4, in order to close one claim. And that can that slows the process down. A guy with a price list rolled up in his back pocket can close a claim, in half the time or less than somebody who's got to get into 3 pieces of software in order to get the claim uploaded and closed and documented and all that stuff. So it's, in a way, I feel like there's kind of like a dark ages period.
Yeah.
Where you had to have, where it's like these companies, and I believe it was more on the carrier side, where they really want to have a proprietary tool or CMS that they use to manage all of their claims. And then they would have the IAs kind of work from that. They would say, well, this is the software I use. You got to get in there. And, we had developed this for us. It's not exactly the most intuitive thing. But if you want to close claims, you got to know how to use it.
Right.
I believe that from what I'm seeing, that stuff is becoming more and more user-friendly, more and more intuitive, more and more with like kind of the Apple model, where these are the things that you are going to use all the time, and we're going to cut everything else out. We don't need to see the rest of that stuff. Right. Unless you really need to, and then here's the tab for that. And as far as technology goes and equipment, yes, it is making things. It's possible for an insured to walk around their house with the FaceTime app up and have their claim scoped and get a reasonably accurate estimate out of it. There may be a little bit back and forth with the contractor and a supplement or whatever, but there are, it's easy. I feel like, especially as an independent adjuster, to feel a little bit protective of what we do because we're highly trained, especially, those of us who have been doing this for a long time,
Yeah.
we have a lot of licenses, we have a lot of experience, and we know this job inside and out. And to have, it can feel, I would say it can feel like a threat from a certain angle, for all of a sudden there's this new opportunity in claims where you don't have to have any of that stuff. You just need a smartphone. We're going to tell you what pictures to take. Just walk around the house with your phone up in front of you, and then here's some money, right? And
Yeah. Is that the future of adjusting, or is that a subset of adjusting?
yeah, so I would say it's a subset. I don't know if there's any adjusters listening. There could be some fist shaking right there. But the thing about it is, and I've thought about this, I believe that the carriers, and I would say for anybody else, IA firms and anybody who's an adjuster who's vested in this industry, we believe that having an experienced, licensed, trained adjuster show up to an insured's house, be able to answer every question that they have, be able to make a coverage decision on the spot and write them an estimate and cut them a check, hand them the money to get the work done, be able to negotiate with the contractor. That's the experience that carriers want to have for their customers, that I want to give as an independent adjuster. And I think that IA firms definitely want to field adjusters who will do that, instead of an army of people who, they've found the job on Craigslist 4 days before.
Well, so if you say that that's what you believe a carrier wants, why do you think that there has been a transition to the inspection only, leaving the highly skilled trained adjuster a lot of times at the desk and asking for photos and reports from the field? Why do you think that's happened?
I think that that's happening as an effort on the part of the carrier to kind of claw back some of the quality that they may lose from having an inconsistent work product from the field.
Yeah, we would agree with that, I think.
Yeah, there's inconsistent training. There's inconsistent, the work's not necessarily consistent. So some people might fall out of it for months or a year or two, and then come back in. And, the last time they touched Xactimate was 16 months ago, which is one of the reasons, again, why I've been, AdjusterTV is what it is. It's to maybe help sort of nudge that back the other way a little bit, as far as, keeping people of the right mindset about what this job is all about.
And that's so important. When I started in this industry, the company that I worked for was actually larger than our company from a revenue standpoint, and had like 12 full-time employees. Today we have, depending on, volume, we have around 100 full-time employees. It just takes so much more today.
Sure.
Because back when I started in the industry, the independent adjuster would produce the file, and then they would send it directly to the carrier. It wouldn't take the intervening step of coming back through the IA company, as I'm sure you know and you remember.
Yeah.
But because the quality became such a profound issue, and there's lots of reasons for that, we now have to do the quality a quality check before it goes back to the carrier, which is
Sure.
a very expensive step for us. So having your adjusters be able to produce product that is similar in quality to the carrier is really important.
Yes, absolutely. Ideally, I want to provide a uniform experience, a consistent experience for the carrier, for their customers, for sure. And that's what across the board for any field adjuster who's an independent. I think that's almost a given.
Sure, because 99% of the problems we get into with carriers have to do with speed, right?
Yeah.
Going too slowly, and or unresponsiveness, and the file's not complete.
Yeah. Inconsistency.
Matt, you have a video, and I can't quote the name of it, but it talks about the death of the adjuster. Is the adjuster? I think it's the cat adjuster. Is it going away? Based on this conversation, you don't feel that way, right? You feel as though there's a need for that level of white glove service, as you said.
Sure.
But there's also an opportunity to do virtual inspections or assist, inspection only. Is that where you see the future of insurance adjusting going?
I do. I think that there are certain claims that can be handled, or that it's appropriate to handle virtually, or even having the insured, do their own scoping. I mean, however, those guys, you just take 8 pictures, right, and then a couple hours later, you get a full measurements of your house.
Yeah,
I would say, sort of to your earlier question, is it going away? Well, I think about it from the perspective of, having been a homeowner who has homeowners insurance, and having had a claim where an independent adjuster, I have a hail claim on my house, independent adjuster came out and mishandled the thing, and I knew his manager.
yeah.
I mean, I was furious, right? And so as a member of society who consumes products that insurance companies sell, I think that the best thing, again, going back, is absolutely going to be, an adjuster who can make a decision, hand an insured a check, make a coverage decision, and all that stuff. And then these other tools are things that they use to handle large volumes of smaller claims. Like, I wouldn't send out a VA on a fire loss, or even a wildfire claim. I mean, I think that would be ridiculous. And I don't think any carrier would, or IA firm. I don't know that's, as far as I know, the VA thing is wind and hail, right? I don't know. You guys can tell me that, I guess.
Yeah. They are, different carriers are testing out different perils. That's for sure. Wind and hail is big, but small water losses and vandalism and theft, and that's coming into this world as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, interior. Let's before we end, I want to ask you about one more thing, and that's
Sure.
that's the D word, drones. How do you view drones and the IA? Do you think every IA should have a drone? And do you think drones are out there to help us? Do you think that's the future of wind and hail inspections? A lot of questions.
Yeah, those are great questions, and this is a fun one. I have a drone, and it's fun to play with. I do videos with it and stuff. This is how I feel about any new tool or technology that comes out that's blows up on social media, and that is, okay, that's really cool. I'm going to assess this based on what it can do to my bottom line as an independent adjuster, because first and foremost, I'm basically a business when I'm running claims. Is a drone going to help me produce a better quality product, and a key, like we were just saying, faster, right? I don't believe the drones would be like in a experienced hail adjuster's pickup truck. There's not going to be a drone and 12 batteries on a big charger in the back seat of their truck. It's just, I don't see how that could possibly be faster than, by the time I get up and down off that roof, and made a much more accurate determination whether there's hail or not, AI and machine learning notwithstanding, that guy's, still flying his drone around. Plus, if it's high winds, if you're near an airport, if you're near a national park, if you're near a military base, you can't fly it. And I don't know. I do think for sure that drones, there have been some losses that I've had where I was like, man, if only I had a drone to look at that back slope, because it's on this thing's on a hill, it's a drop off. There's no way I'm getting a ladder up there. I can't get on the front of this thing. There's a tree laying across, whatever, or it's unsafe, it's dangerous, that it's been weakened by fire. I don't want to get on that roof. Then yeah, absolutely. I think a drone, fly that thing up, get some snapshots for the file, and on you go. For hazardous and very extremely difficult to access structures, maybe not just roofs, but maybe structures, something you can't get to, directly. You could fly a drone around it. But for regular old wind and hail, I'm going to say no. For me, I know that there's guys out there. I've had this conversation a little bit, who will say, "Man, I do 9 a day with my drone. No problem. I just got a bunch of batteries, and it's like boom, 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 boom." I'm like, okay, well, cool. But I can still do that same number of claims and, still be done and not have an extra piece of equipment that can break on me. And that if my workflow doesn't support not using the drone, then I'm a little hooped. And, the thing I think about is, insurance companies and really everybody, I mean, we're risk averse for the most part. So what happens the first time one of those drones loses its GPS signal and starts to spin out of control because it's trying to find that signal, which I've had happen with my drone, and it's going lower and lower and lower, and it hits someone's child, right, or their pet, or the side of their house, or them, or their car. What happens then? I would say if it hasn't, if that kind of thing happened, I could see if I ran an insurance company, I'd be like, yep, shut it down for sure.
Sure. Sure.
Because it's a dangerous piece of equipment. I mean, it's those blades that can cut your finger right off.
Yeah, if it flew into somebody, it would hurt, right?
Oh yeah.
I want to ask you one last question about Adjuster TV's involvement with different audiences. Are you guys involved with carriers at all? Do you work cooperatively with carriers or provide any content for carriers?
Currently, we are not partnering with any carriers at this time. It's mostly new adjusters, and then of course IA firms who are kind of getting involved. But I'm absolutely not against that at all. I'm certainly open to that.
Do you connect with IA firms through Adjuster TV? Can you talk about that just real quickly?
Yes, yeah. So I try to attend at least a couple of conferences every year. I got a pocket full of business cards and my video set up at every conference I go to try and grab guys and gals and HR directors and operations managers and CEOs and everybody else to come over and sit down and say a few words to Adjuster TV and maybe answer like questions that new people kind of have. I like to get information from the horse's mouth. So people will have questions about virtual assist, or they'll have questions about, how many years of experience do I have to have this, that, and the other thing? Can I do daily claims as a brand new adjuster with no experience? And I'll ask. I'm not going to sit here and like make a video with me just talking and speculating. I want to get that information from the horse's mouth, which I feel like part of the mandate that I've got for myself with Adjuster TV is to be a resource for the information, not like speculation, or it's not an opinion channel. It's not I'm an adjuster and I'm going to tell you how I do everything kind of thing. This is how we want you to, how the industry wants it done. This is how it's done in the industry. These are the opportunities that you have in the industry from people in the industry, from the horse's mouth. So that could be our tagline, is AdjusterTV.com, from the horse's mouth.
I like that.
Well, not that there's any horses on this podcast today. But listen, we really appreciate you making time. Although these days it seems like we all have a little more time because we're not getting in our car and going many places. We're thrilled to have you on with us, and maybe sometime you could get us on Adjuster TV. Of course, we've both been told that we both have faces that were made for podcasts. So
I don't think that's true. I'll tell you what, I do have the brief interview that I did with Lee at Elevate.
That's true.
I just am in the process of editing that. So
let's.
I got interviewed. You didn't, Rob.
No, that's true. I wasn't asked.
That's true.
Full disclosure.
That's true.
But let's get it over to us, and we'll put it on our website. Everybody wants to know what Lee looks like. Not many people want to know what I look like. Anyways, we thank you for being with us, and we wish you all the best. And I'm sure that our paths will cross frequently in the coming months.
Awesome. It's been my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
You got it.
Thanks, Matt.
Well, usually we're talking about technology, or talking about venture capital, or talking about things in InsurTech. So it's kind of interesting to pick another piece of the group that's affected by InsurTech, and that's independent adjusters. So it was good to hear from Mathew Allen.
We talked to him today about the users. A lot of times independent adjusters are the users of the InsurTech world. They're pushed down this new technology and told that they need to use it. So I thought it was a good discussion. It seems like we're all in agreement that Intertek is out there to make people's life easier. We understand that not everyone agrees with that. We know that, but I thought it was good. And I think Matt has a really neat niche with his YouTube channel. I don't know if anybody here has seen his YouTube videos, but they're really good. He's very talented. I recommend going to see him.
It was nice to have Matt join us all the way from Montana. It was great to have him on, and we always are trying to bring you a range of content and information, not just about companies or money, but also about those people that are affected by or involved with InsurTech. So
Right.
we thank Matt for being with us today and for illuminating that about the adjuster side. And we thank you all for being with us and hope you're being safe and hunkered down and that you all have lots of rolled paper. We were just talking about that, weren't we?
Yes, we were.
Whatever that may be. In fact, Lee just told us about Saltgrass in Texas, restaurant in Texas, that is offering as takeout a steak and a roll of toilet paper.
I read that in the paper. I'm 50% sure that was right. But they were saying that there's not a shortage of toilet paper in the commercial world. And so all these restaurants have toilet paper. So if you need some toilet paper, ask your next takeout.
And we're 50% sure that this is a very strange way to end a podcast. So we'll do it there, and we'll go out by saying what we say every time.
Goodbye, everybody.